Hello, this is Fear Dragon coming at you with another StarCraft 2 netcast. Today we have a Protoss vs Zerg. This is going to be game number 1 of a best of 5 series. Please, by the way, go ahead and submit your replays that you want casted to feardragon64@gmail.com. That way I can cast some of your games instead of just pro level games. But let's go ahead and get started with this best of 5 series. Up here in the top right hand corner of Cloud Kingdom, we have the foreigner blue Zerg player. He's definitely a crowd favorite. Give it up for mTwDimaga. And his opponent down in the bottom left hand corner of Cloud Kingdom, spawning as the red Protoss player. He is the team, or one of the team organizers and leaders for the Slayers team. Let's see if his Protoss is up to par. He's going to be representing Team Slayers. His name is SlayerSCella. SlayerSCella, also thought of as a huge troll. He has trolled quite a bit on other people's live streams. Definitely has a very strong personality. Meanwhile, Dimaga having a strong personality of his own, but very well known as a friendly player. If you ever have met White Raw or Liquid Chef, he is definitely up there amongst those very manner players. But we do see a regular old build coming out of Dimaga. Looks like he's going to be throwing down that spawning pool first. Does not want to deal with those stupid shenanigans that the probe can do by trying to throw down a hatchery first, allowing the probe to do all kinds of crazy wall-offs with around cannons, and it gets really messy very quickly, so he doesn't want to deal with any of that. Meanwhile, SlayerSCella also not going to be looking to play too greedy, just going to be throwing down that Forge before the Nexus, not going for a Nexus first. He's going to be going for that Nexus after Forge. I think this is pretty acceptable. Even going to be throwing down, looks like there's a second pylon. I also really like this decision, just going for that second pylon after the Nexus. This does allow you to make sure that you don't get supply blocked, as you can see over here. That will allow him to continuously just keep making those probes if he so decides to. It looks like he's not actually deciding to right now. But anyways, in the meanwhile, we do see the hatchery going down, so no big probey shenanigans going on, but this probe is still alive. Over at the Zone Watchtower, those Zerglings are going to be coming out for blood. God, do Zerglings hate probes. Oh my god, Zerg hate probes. Oh my god, probes are like the worst unit in the game for a Zerg. You might hear some Zergs complain about Colossus. Oh, they're so imba. Mothership. Oh my god, no, it's the probes. It's actually, because you think about it, the most commonly frustrating unit in any game for a Zerg, against Protoss anyways, is going to be the probe, because it's going to be the most common one. It's going to happen every single game. You don't always get to Broodlords. You don't have to deal with those pesky little vortexes from the mothership. You also don't have to deal with a lot of, Colossus necessarily, because, Protoss can go for other builds and try and go for Blink Stalker, and go for those Stargate plays. They might not even get a chance to get a Colossus. You might just kill them beforehand. But you see probes every game, and every game that block your freaking hatchery, and it's frustrating as freaking hell. And I love it, because I love doing it. Anyways. So we are going to be seeing, again, some pretty normal looking builds. We do see a Stargate being thrown down by SlayerSCella. We can already see that he does have these 2 gas guys. Just got them relatively early, so that is going to allow him to get that 1 gate Stargate. We're going to have to see how he decides to put on that pressure and follow it up, as he definitely needs to put on some pressure with that Stargate play. In the meanwhile, Dimaga just going ahead and grabbing that very quick 3rd expansion. We can see he probably got it around the 4-minute mark or so, so a very early expansion. Definitely going to be looking to play a little bit economically. We can even see he's only really made 4 Zerglings, really just kind of droning up like a madman, while he knows that his opponent really can't put much pressure on him. Now, I would be expecting him to do some kind of just basic scouting. As you can see over here, he has a kind of an idea of what's going on. He can see that there is nothing or researching in that forge. And in the meanwhile, he's just going to be seeing, okay, well, my opponent has taken this gas geyser over here, so I assume he's going to be going for some kind of techie path. He's probably not, if if you see a Protoss player get these 2 gas geysers this early, around the 6-minute mark, you probably know that they can't afford to really get out a huge number of early gateway units, at least before, you know, the 10-minute mark. So you can feel pretty comfortable just kind of droning up, getting these evolution chambers out. Evolution chambers, of course, are very key for Dimaga, as he's definitely going to have to do a little bit of anti-air defense. And this will also allow him to get those upgrades. So very nice play from Dimaga. He definitely has his build mapped out as one of these pro players that we have been seeing in the past couple of casts that I've been doing. You know, they really make sure that they have all the timings mapped out perfectly, make sure that everything's looking okay, and it looks like, oh, that Void Ray does pop out, supply blocks Dimaga, a bit of an annoyance, but we do see 3 Overlords going to be popping out in just a second, so it looks like as soon as he saw that, Void Ray was attacking that Overlord that was positioned right around here, just to get a little bit of scouting information, he was ready and just said, oh, I'll just make 3 more, it'll be fine. But we do see a little bit of a throwdown of buildings from SlayerSCella. We do see a couple of additional gateways, just those 3. But more importantly, we do see that there is this Stargate rallying a couple of Phoenix over here. And with this 1 Void and 3 Phoenix, a very classic pressure play. We're going to see what kind of damage he can do. Now, this sort of style has it's been a bit interesting because we've seen a little bit less of it, I would have to say. Just this 1 Void Ray, 3 Phoenix kind of style play. We've been seeing a lot more of the Blink Stalker kind of play and all kinds of other different types of follow-ups. We'll see whether or not mTwDimaga is going to be prepared for it. We already saw that he did throw down a couple of these Spore Crawlers. There is one of them. It looks like he does have 2 Queens in the main as well, and a Spore Crawler, so he's definitely going to be prepared to take on that 1 Void Ray, but we'll see how he fares once those 3 Phoenix, actually now 4 Phoenix. This is a bit interesting. Normally players do wait for just 3 Phoenix, but it looks like SlayerSCella opting for the 4 before he really decides to go in. We do see that 1 Void Ray does find a nice little sweet spot. He's going to be able to do some nice damage over here. He has to do damage or he's going to be behind. So we do see some nice lift ups on those drones. He's actually killing quite a few. We can see over here he's already managed to kill 7 workers, and now that is an obscene number of queens. Oh my god, that is 8 queens. That is ridiculous, and they almost managed to get that Void Ray, just bring him down to the yellow health, past those shields. He's going to get away just fine and happily, and keeping the Phoenix alive as well. Very well played and very well microed by SlayerSCella. You know, I think it was a pretty interesting play, and we do see a very large number of Zerglings over there. We'll go ahead and check back on them later, see if they go for any kind of counterattacks. But it looks like for now, SlayerSCella is not looking to get that 3rd, just continuing to put on that pressure as he goes for that Colossus play. I think he's hoping to force out a Hydralisk reaction, but I'm not sure it's going to work against mTwDimaga just because he has those 8 queens. I mean, he can deal with this 4 or 5 Phoenix army along with that 1 Void Ray without too much of an issue. We do see that Void Ray going over here, clearing out some creep tumors, but those queens are doing a lot of damage to those Phoenix, and these Phoenix are now getting some nice liftoffs. But he does end up losing 1 of them. In the meanwhile, again, that Void Ray being very useful with that Observer, getting out to clean out all those creep tumors. And that actually might be a little bit of a giveaway to Dimaga. He must know, hey, my opponent has already gotten that robotics facility. So, you know, he could be going for those Colossus. Maybe he's just getting Immortals. He's not, can't be entirely sure, but it could be a little bit of a giveaway just in terms of what tech he has. Now, we do see these Zerglings coming in at the perfect time, actually. Seeing, oh my god, a great flank over here. They might actually be able to pick off that Colossus. That Colossus is trying to judge it, or, you know, jumble its way in between all the other remaining Protoss units just to make sure that those Zerglings can't deal with damage. And it looks like they do manage to clean up a majority of those Zerglings. These Zerglings might actually be able to force a cancel, though, on this Nexus, and there's the cancel. Unfortunate for SlayerSCella. He wants to get up that 3rd as soon as possible, as it is kind of getting a little bit late for that 3rd, as you can already see that Dimaga is able to now throw down that Spire tech. We're going to have to see how SlayerSCella will be able to deal with that. It doesn't look like Dimaga has any plans for a 4th just quite yet. Looks like for now he's just going to be probably pumping a bit of that Mulus count. Let's go ahead and take a look at the worker counts for now. We do see 69 drones to 59 probes, so relatively even. Of course, Zerg just a little bit ahead, but You know, that tends to happen, especially since SlayerSCella is only just now grabbing that third extension. We do see a little bit more Phoenix Rocks, and I have to say, very well done by SlayerSCella. You know, despite the fact that there was that massive number of queens, you know, he did a very good job at keeping that micro up, making sure that he didn't really lose these Phoenix, and having these Phoenix into this late game kind of situation, or as it's approaching the kind of like late mid game, I should say. It's very useful to have these because you can do this kind of harassment, especially in, oh my god, that 13 Corruptors coming out. That's going to be very useful to deal with those Colossus that he did end up seeing during that little Zergling aggression. And it's also going to be very useful against these Phoenix, but I'm not sure if that's too many. I feel like that might be a bit too many considering his current unit composition of just Zerglings. Oh my god, we actually see some Banelings coming out. We're going to have to see how he decides to utilize those. Dimaga, often known for his kind of unique style of play, we'll end up seeing if he's going to be going for Baneling drops, burrowed Banelings. Let's see, there's so many possibilities. But let's see, actually it doesn't look like he has that burrow research. Is going to be grabbing that fourth in the meanwhile, while he just kind of pumps a couple more of those Zerglings. But in the meanwhile, he has to be wary as it looks like SlayerSCella looking to move out a little bit, sees a little bit of map control, just kind of poking around and prodding. Does have a good number of observers actually. It looks like he might be sitting at, is it 2? Yeah, just 2, but still nicely positioned. He has all of these counterattack paths kind of covered except for this one over here, so he does have to be a little bit wary about that potential counterattack path. But having this Zelnaga tower, moving this observer around to make sure that he can see whether or not there is going to be a fleet of Zerglings. Oftentimes Zerglings are not really considered fleets because they're on the frickin' ground, and fleets generally are in the air. But still, that fleet of Zerglings could be coming in for a counterattack whenever he decides to move out. So having those observers nicely positioned is going to be awesome for him. And actually going ahead and taking this fourth, ooh, this is going to be a very interesting decision. Looks like SlayerSCella maybe wants to take this to that late game. Actually is getting the gravitic drive, sorry, not gratuic, but gravitic drive, so that is going to allow him to get that speed prism, I believe. So very fun plays coming out from SlayerSCella in the near future. Be looking forward to it. And we do see that this fourth expansion for Dimaga is now up. He does have a very large army, so I'd be expecting him to put on some pressure since he is now maxed out. That maxed army is pretty freaking scary. It's actually lagging my computer just a tidbit, but hopefully you guys don't notice it too much. Of course, you will definitely notice it after I've pointed it out so blatantly. But we do see that this little army over here is going to be pretty well prepared, at least to try and defend again, or this fourth over here, as these little Zerglings trying to do a little poking action. They do end up scouting out that fourth. That's going to be a very key thing, as it looks like that might actually queue up mTwDimaga to try and do a bit of aggression. And there are the Banelings loading up into these Overlords. Am I eventually get? Yeah, okay, there. Finally picking one of the Overlords that actually has Banelings in them. But in the meanwhile, we do see, oh my god, there's that Warp Prism, and actually doing a good bit of damage with this Warp In round of a massive number of Zealots. He's actually going to be able to take out the Spire. Is he going to finish the upgrade though? It looks like 8 seconds left. He's definitely not going to finish it. Oh no, this is going to be so terrible for mTwDimaga. He has to pull back a bunch of these units if he wants a chance to defend. He is using these Banelings drops to pick off all of these Zealots over here, and these Zerglings are going to be able to pick off those sentries. And now we see the Corruptors returning also to try and deal with those Phoenix, but unfortunately for him, that Phoenix, or those that gravitic drive did complete, so that is going to allow this little Warp Prism to speed away at his... Actually, that doesn't look like a speed prism at all. No, that's not a speed prism. Am I completely mixing up what gravitic drive does? I think I might be. But regardless, the Warp Prism does manage to escape. I really can't tell. It's kind of moving fast, but it's kind of not. Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna call it a speed prism. But anyways, we in the meanwhile see mTwDimaga looking to move forward. All of these Banelings loaded up in the Overlord. Which one is the Ultralisk skin? Well, there is no Ultralisk out yet. But the higher hype tech is on the way, so that means he could be reinforcing with some pretty scary units. We do see the big engagement. The Banelings are going to be approaching the entire army of SlayerSCella. SlayerSCella returning back with his Stalkers, but the Colossus doing a massive amount of damage to those Zerglings that were getting forced to without. but now we see the Overlords not actually getting on top of those Stalkers. Unfortunately, they are just dropping on top of a couple of those Archons and those cannons, and not really quite working out as well as he might have wanted to, and now he's losing a ton of these Overlords and those Corruptors. As I was saying before, I think he definitely overproduced them, and that's really coming back to haunt him. Is look at how many Stalkers are left over, even a couple of Archons left over, and there's one total baller immortal with 14 kills and +2/+2 upgrades. Oh man, that's gonna be so painful. Now we do see another influx of these Zerglings with +2/+2 weapons and armor upgrades, but at the same time, SlayerSCella is so far ahead in the supply right now, almost 40 supply ahead. He's gonna be able to easily take out this fourth, and there's the GG coming out from mTwDimaga. So SlayerSCella taking this game in a pretty convincing defense, I have to say. You know, I feel like mTwDimaga, even though, you know, I feel like he was falling a little bit behind in terms of economy, just allowing SlayerSCella to get up this fourth, while his fourth was really not that much further ahead, and also that great damage that really just delayed that push. You can remember that War Prism came in, and in the meanwhile, mTwDimaga had all of his units positioned right around here or something, and he had all of his Corruptors and Zerglings and Banelings loaded up into his Overlords, all ready to go. But that one War Prism drop pulled back all those Corruptors, delayed the push. They probably could have done a lot more damage if he'd been able to attack just, you know, like a minute or two earlier. And also not really being able to get those Overlords right on top of those Stalkers, since they were, SlayerSCella was doing a very good job of retreating them, especially with that blink. Yeah, I think the engagement just didn't go too well for him. A couple of things didn't work out, and SlayerSCella showing that he has a superior Korean play to take out mTwDimaga in game number 1. But this is a best of 5 series, so there's plenty of chances for mTwDimaga to come back in this. So let's go ahead and jump into game number 2. Subscribe to me on all 3 of my things. I'll have the links below.